Alright, so looking at sections 3 and 4. So section 3 was function notation. So basically 3 main ideas here. So first is to evaluate and so that just means plug in 6 for x. So you could say f of 6, I wrote x, f of 6 equals 7. Okay, so just if it asks you to evaluate, okay, this word evaluate means plug in. What am I going to plug in? It's going to tell you. Okay, so then the second thing that you'll have to do is the directions will say find the value of x. So the function has a given value. So big long direction for something that should be really simple. Okay, so it's going to give you 2 f of x's, g of x's, h of x's. Okay, and you're just going to take each item and make a little equation. And then solve it. Okay, so what you need to study from this is like when you see this weird direction or when you see the 2 f of x's in the same problem, I'm going to make them equal and solve it. Okay? Alright, so then the last item is graphing. So, and honestly, I don't care how you graph. So if you do slope-intercept form, if you do standard form, in this section you're supposed to plug in numbers, but I want to go over a couple things. So you could see, remember that something like that, which looks kind of weird, but remember this is like y equals -1. So this f of x and the y we can use interchangeably. And so when we have y equals -1, that just means on the y-axis, go to -1, and you draw a line sideways. Okay, and the reason is all these points on the blue line, the y part is -1. Okay, so this could be like 2 -1, 5 -1, -2 -1, -4 -1. Like they all have -1 for the y part. Okay, So if you had, let's say, negative 2/3 x plus 1. So when you do graphing, like when you're just picking numbers and there's a fraction, you'd want to pick numbers that work with that fraction. So 3, 0, and negative 3, in my opinion, would be the best 3. Because when you plug in the 3, it's going to reduce with the denominator. Zero is always a good option because 0 times anything is 0. So that just makes life a lot better. And then negative 3, got to be a little bit careful on this one because the 3's do reduce, but we can't forget that I have a negative sign here and a negative sign here. So a negative and negative makes a positive 2. The 3's reduce and go away, but I still have negative, negative, positive. Okay, so I go to graph it. 3, negative 1, 0, 1, and negative 3, 3. Okay, so you'll have a couple with fractions. One of them actually has a 3 in the denominator, so pick 3, 0, negative 3. If it had a 4, pick 4, 0, and negative 4. If it had a 5, pick 5, 0, negative 5, because those will reduce and you'll have whole numbers. Okay? Alright, so that is section 3. Section 4 was on standard form. Okay, so remember that looks like ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c, b's really sloppy this morning. A, b, and c are integers, which again means positive or negative whole numbers, so no fractions. Okay. So the biggest thing that I want you to remember when you see standard form is I want you to think of x and y intercepts. Okay, so so if that was the problem, what do I do for x and y intercepts? Well, I'm going to plug in 0 for x, two times 0 is 0, which means I can just kind of ignore that because 0 plus anything is the same thing. So I have a y-intercept of negative 4, and then I do the opposite. Plug in 0 for the y part. So that again is a 0, which doesn't change anything. Okay, so my intercepts are y is -4 and x is -6. So some of the problems might just ask you, what are the intercepts, and you're done. If it asks you to graph, very simply, on the y-axis, go to -4. On the x-axis, go to -6. And then just connect the two dots together. Okay. Not a very difficult concept. It's just you got to take the time to study that when I have standard form, or when I'm asked to find the intercepts, that I just plug in 0. It's a really straightforward deal. I'm glancing at the assignment, and on one of them, you'll get a fraction. So just estimate. So if it's like 3.5, well then just put a point between 3 and 4. It doesn't have to be like perfect. It should be in the generally the right spot. But I'm not going to get a ruler out and say, no, this was slightly too far to the right, or just make it be appropriate, and you'll be good. Okay? All right, so remember Test Friday. So study, study, study. All right, we'll see you tomorrow, guys. Have a great day.